For anyone actively engaged in academic work, a great note-taking system functions as a kind of second brain, by which I mean that your system of taking notes should build an interconnected, almost neural network of ideas and how they cross-pollinate and relate to one another. This is exactly what our brains learn to do. We have this neural network of ideas that are interconnected. In order to do that, you need to use the right tools, and insofar as it's based on journal articles, you need to use a sound method of note-taking. And in this short video, you're going to learn both of those. Firstly, what kind of tools should you use? My recommendation would be tools where all your notes can live in one place and where you can cross-reference and hyperlink between different components of your note-taking system. There are many good applications available. I have sometimes used OneNote, the built-in Microsoft application. It has many of the necessary functions. My personal preferred app, and you are welcome to use a different one, but my personal preferred app is a thing called RemNote, which has amazing tools for cross-referencing. So let's assume you've got a good note-taking app and you are working through a journal article. How do you take notes? Let me show you the way I go about doing this. This is an article by Lovejoy Chabata, and this is my RemNote note-taking application tool. In RemNote, I can upload the article as a PDF and have them side by side here. The very first thing I would do would be to read the entire article and highlight key thoughts, ideas, phrases. I'm primarily looking for two things. One, what is the disputable truth claim or the central argument of the article? And two, what are the key ideas, thoughts, or pieces of evidence that are used to support it? The highlights are not for the sake of memory. They're absolutely worthless for memory, but they're very useful for note-taking. So I work through the entire article and make a set of highlights. And then when I'm done, I'm going to come across, and I've got the article details here. This hyperlink would link me directly to the article on the website I got it from. First thing I'm going to do is record the source information, the bibliographic information. And then I'm going to attempt to state the thesis of the article. In this case, Chabata claims that biblical texts, what he calls texts of terror, are sometimes misused to legitimate gender-based violence. And then he avers that Jesus' response to the woman caught in adultery represents a new hermeneutic for reading gender-related texts that will safeguard us against this predisposition. He did not state this directly. I had to abstract it from my reading of the article. Once I've stated the thesis, I then want to provide a summary and interpretation of what he says. Now, here I'm not trying to critique him. I'm simply trying to wrap my head around the arguments in support of his point. So I've essentially summarized the article under a few headings. If I drop that down, here are some of my extracts. Sometimes they're going to be word for word, sometimes they're going to be paraphrases, but these are ideas and thoughts that he is championing, and I'm trying to understand them initially. And then once I've felt like I've got the key thesis and I've understood the key information in support of it, then and only then do we turn to criticism. Now, criticism is not necessarily saying this is a bad article. Criticism is asking the question, what is the significance of this article to me, my context, my research, my environment, my interests, etc. And this is where I'm able to indicate whether I think he's made a good or bad argument, whether his logic is sound, so the strength of the argument, but I'm also going to reflect on any implications that the article may have in my world and for my interests. So these are simply my personal thoughts and reflections about the article in ways that I make no claim are are consistent with Ciabatta's view. It's how am I engaging this for my own sake and interest? What do I think of it? And then the last section that I have here is a set of glossary items. So any technical terms I come across, I put into a glossary. And one of the nice things about RemNote is that I can join all those glossaries together. So anywhere within my entire suite of RemNote notes, any glossary term that I've saved can be cross-referenced when referring to other activities. I think this is a good way of taking notes. You definitely want to use some kind of an application where all your notes can live together and be interconnected like a neural network. And then as you work through a journal article, first read the whole article, highlight the key thoughts around the argument and the supporting arguments. Then when you take notes, start with the thesis statement, write it in one sentence, summarize any key points or relevant or interesting points that he makes in supporting his claim, and then begin to ask, so what do I make of this? Do I agree, disagree? What do I agree with? What do I disagree with? How might I nuance it? What relevance does it have for a paper I'm writing, a leadership task that I'm engaged in, and so on?